To make your own Notan design, we need a white background paper, a smaller square of colored paper. This is 4 inches square for the black. And then you're going to need scissors and later on glue. Our Notans are supposed to be symmetrical. So as we're working on creating them, we would like to work with the paper folded. If you'd go ahead and take your little square, match up the opposite side, and keep it folded in half. Remember how you learned to cut out symmetrical shapes as a kid, where you're cutting on the fold, like to make a heart, let's say. In this case, we're going to be cutting out areas from the outside, from the open edges of the paper, and trying not to cut from the fold. So to start out, I'd like you to try this first one along with me, and then I would encourage you to experiment on your own later. So if I've got the long open edge of my paper, I want to just cut into that a simple shape, like maybe half of a circle, kind of. I don't want it to be super small. I want to be able to end up breaking up the black square of paper as much as I can. Remember, every part of the black paper gets used. None of it is a scrap to throw away. So I want to be sure I'm keeping track of all my cutout pieces and not losing them. So to begin with, the way these pieces would be placed is that each one where it was cut out would flip over, and then the straight edge would join up on the outside of the square. So here's your super simple and boring Notan design. That is the basis of all of it, though. So if I want, well, first of all, I'd like to break up every straight edge of my piece. So I'm going to go ahead from the bottom or from one of the short sides and cut in like a triangle shape. I want to reach up in there, so I'm breaking up my black square, but I'm not connecting to the first cut that I made. I'm leaving some paper there so that it's still strong and doesn't fall apart on me. And then it is possible to have a cut that touches the fold. So from over on this other side, what I'm going to try is to take out a square that starts on the straight edge and comes over to the fold line. So I'm going to cut straight up in and then over to the fold. Okay. So I have all my cutouts and my center square. To make it more interesting and add more complexity to it, you can take a large cutout like this first one, and you can cut another shape inside of that shape. So I'd like you to try that. Pick your biggest one, take both pieces and match them back up on top of each other. And now cut some kind of shape inside the shape. I think I'll do like a smaller rectangle inside of my half circle. Okay, remembering we're keeping all of the cut off parts. Nothing gets thrown away. So now when I go to see how that would look as part of my design, if I'm taking my black square and flattening it open, and I remember how I started out where the half circle flips over and matches up on the edge of the square, and on this side it flips over and matches up on the edge of the square. Now my inside cutouts, they flip back to the inside. They were cut out here, and now they're going to flip in. So I get that detail inside. And some of the examples that we saw, like in the introduction, have this kind of action happening. So I make sure it faces the same way I cut it, and then I'm going to flip it over And together, when I would glue these down, I would be trying to make all of the straight edges recreate the edge of my square the best that I could. I could definitely make a shape inside of a shape for this cutoff part. So I'm going to try something that's a little bit more fancy maybe. Maybe I'll do like a kind of a half moon shape. So now when I take my outside part of the cutout, match it up here, flip it over to the outside of the square there. And then I take my little half moon shaped cutout, match it up the way I cut it, and then flip it over to the inside like that. Kind of looks like a mustache. I wasn't thinking of a mustache, but I got one. My triangles at the bottom, this one would flip this way. And then this one, I try to match it up to how I cut it and then flip it out this way. So I would like to see you experiment a few times before you glue something down. See what's the best that you can come up with. If you'd like to try another color of paper other than black, there are other colors of squares available to you. And then in the end, when you go to glue it down to make your page, you have to make it fit inside the black square. You can see right now how some of it is sticking out. I mean, the white square of the background paper. Most of the time, in order to make it fit, we've got to take the original square piece and kind of turn it like a diamond shape to the background. And then that should give us enough room for those outside pieces to get glued down. So that is our basic process. I'll show you how mine looks once I get it glued. I have part of my gluing done, but I wanted to show you. So I have a little scrap paper spot where I'm doing my gluing. I want to be sure as I figure out where each piece goes that I have it facing the right direction, so I know which side of the paper needs to have the glue on it. So I'm gluing it over here, and then I'm placing it, trying to remake that straight edge of the square as I place it down. So your assignment involves symmetry. Part of your score is that as you are cutting and then gluing together your pieces, that you're creating the symmetry of the design. Your assignment also involves showing that you're creating an interesting shape. So you're doing that by having enough details, enough small pieces that break up the square. And then it involves your craftsmanship as well. So you're trying to make sure that the pieces face the right direction, that you're lining up the straight edge of your square, and making that show up clearly. That you have all the pieces and you haven't lost any of them. And also that you got it situated on your white background so it's not sticking out off the edges. So you should be able to make it fit if you're taking the black square and like turning it so it's like a diamond compared to the outside edge. So that is what you need to do before you glue it down. Make sure you know where you're going to put it so that it fits. Then I need to take my photo of my finished piece and end up finally by gluing it into my accordion book.